Welcome to the Special Forces in World War II podcast, transmitting on this frequency. This broadcast is your dedicated channel for comprehensive intelligence regarding World War II Special Forces operations. Our transmissions encompass in-depth analysis of their strategic maneuvers, cutting-edge equipment, illustrious biographies, and an array of pertinent subjects. The orchestration of these transmissions is executed by the expert team of the Special Forces in World War II website, a squad deeply immersed in the historical theatre. For further insights, visual aids, and captured moments frozen in time, navigate to our virtual headquarters at worldwar2-soft.com. Your immersion into the front lines of knowledge awaits. Over and out. Welcome back to another shorter episode of the Special Forces in World War II podcast, where we explore the bold, the daring, and the extraordinary tactics that helped shape the outcome of the greatest conflict in modern history. I'm your host, Michael Wires, and as always, we're here to unravel the hidden stories behind the daring exploits of World War II. In this episode, we examine Operazione Baia di Gibilterra 1 and 2, two early underwater sabotage missions carried out by Italy's 10th Flotilla MAS, using manned torpedoes against the British fleet anchored at Gibraltar during the Second World War. In the summer of 1940, Italy joins the war as an ally of Germany. On paper, the Regia Marina ranks are among the largest navies in the world. But in the Mediterranean, their own front yard, the British are dominant. The Royal Navy controls two crucial strongholds, Alexandria in the east, Gibraltar in the west. These bases give the British full access to the sea, allowing them to escort convoys, resupply Malta, and strike Axis shipping from two directions. The Mediterranean becomes a battlefield, and the Italians are boxed in. On September 16, 1940, General Pietro Badoglio, chief of the Italian Supreme Command, issued a letter assessing the situation. The British naval forces in the Mediterranean are currently concentrated at Gibraltar and Alexandria. The Gibraltar fleet includes 3 battleships, 1 aircraft carrier, and smaller vessels. Alexandria hosts 5 battleships and 2 carriers. Reinforcements from the home fleet remain a constant possibility. By contrast, Italy's naval force at the time consisted of 5 battleships and no aircraft carriers. Badoglio stated that while the Italian fleet could face Gibraltar's forces in battle, it would be at a marked disadvantage against Alexandria. With no realistic hope for reinforcements or replacements, maintaining the status quo became the strategic priority. Badoglio noted that, although the British had achieved partial success in restricting access to the Strait of Gibraltar and controlling convoy routes, the Italian fleet had managed to maintain secure maritime communications with Libya and Albania and had inflicted some damage on British convoys using submarines and light vessels. His conclusion? The Italian Navy should avoid full engagement and preserve its current position. In the aftermath of the failed Operazione Golfo di Alessandria 1 and the loss of the submarine Irid, Admiral Domenico Cavagnari, Chief of Staff of the Regia Marina, assigned a new mission to Commander Mario Giorgini. The 1st Flotilla MAS, Italy's elite naval sabotage unit, would carry out near-simultaneous attacks using Siluro Alenta Corsa, human-guided torpedoes, against the ports of Alexandria, Egypt, and Gibraltar. 2 submarines are selected and modified at the La Spezia arsenal. Gondar, targeting Alexandria for Operazione Golfo di Alessandria 2. Shire, targeting Gibraltar in Operazione Baia di Gibilterra 1. Gibraltar is a 6.8 square kilometer British overseas territory on the southern tip of Spain. Strategically located at the entrance to the Mediterranean, it includes the Rock of Gibraltar, a limestone promontory rising 426 meters above sea level with an extensive tunnel network. The Bay of Gibraltar, a deep-water harbour. The Strait of Gibraltar, a 13-kilometre-wide choke point between Europe and Africa. During the Second World War, Gibraltar served as a major naval base, supporting Malta convoys and Allied operations in North Africa. Defences included anti-sabotage nets, mines, constant air surveillance, and anti-submarine patrols. At the time, British Force H stationed there included the cruisers HMS Enterprise, Arethusa, Sheffield, Coventry, and Calcutta, the aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal, and the battlecruiser HMS Renown, battleships HMS Hood, Resolution, and Valiant. On September 6, 1940, at the naval base in La Spezia, the submarine Sirè, one of the smallest in the Italian fleet, sets out on a short training run, just under 44 kilometers, there and back. On paper, it's nothing special, but this is more than routine. Sirè is now being modified to carry 3 Siluro Alenta-Corsas, man-guided torpedoes. The submarine's deck is fitted with cylindrical pressure-tight containers to house these machines during transit. Every movement now is about refining procedures, checking equipment, and preparing for something entirely new. Over the next 2 weeks, more exercises follow. On September 17, 1940, Capitano di Corvetta Junio Valerio Borghesi officially takes command of Sirè. He conducts a final series of drills to familiarize himself with both the submarine and the new tactics. He knows exactly what the mission demands: patience, timing, and absolute silence. Then, early in the morning on September 24, 1940, Sirè departs La Spezia again. This time, it's real. On board are 3 two-man Siluro Alenta-Corsa teams and a reserve unit. All are among the most skilled and disciplined operators the Italian Navy can assemble. The first team is composed of Tenente di Vascello Gino Birindelli and Capo di Seconda Classe Mario Paccagnini. The second team includes Capitano di Corvetta Teseo Tesei and Sergente Alcide Pedretti, and team number 3 is composed Sottotenente di Vascello Luigi Durand della Penne and Capo di Seconda Classe Emilio Bianchi. The reserve team consists of Tenente del Genio Navale Giangastone Bertozzi and Sergente Enrico Ario Lazzari. Their destination is the Bay of Gibraltar. The mission: reach the edge of the British naval base undetected and launch the Siluro Alenta-Corsas toward their targets, ideally British battleships. But before Sirè gets within striking distance, new intelligence arrives. British Force H, one of the Royal Navy's main task groups, has left Gibraltar. With the primary targets gone, Borghesi makes the decision. The mission is aborted. Submarine Sirè turns away, still unseen, and begins the long journey home. It arrives back at La Maddalena on October 3, 1940, then continues to La Spezia, arriving there on October 9, 1940. The first operation ends without a shot fired, but the idea is far from abandoned. Just over a week later, Operazione Baia di Gibilterra II is authorized. On October 17, 1940, headquarters of the Regia Marina, known as Super Marina, issues a classified document. It provides exact instructions for the next attempt. The launch procedures are updated, routes are revised, timing is finalized. Even contingency plans are laid out, including how to recover the operators if the mission succeeds or fails. Aircraft support is arranged. Each Siluro Alenta-Corsa team is assigned a specific type of target. The document doesn't leave room for improvisation. Every movement is calculated. In the following days, Submarine Sirè conducts 2 short training exercises. Then, on the morning of October 21, 1940, it departs La Spezia for the second real attempt. The same men are on board with one exception. Giuseppe Viglioli replaces Lazzari in the reserve team. On October 27, 1940, near Almina Point, Shiré encounters a British destroyer less than 800 meters away. Borghese orders an immediate crash dive. That night, another destroyer passes close by at high speed. Again, the submarine dives to avoid detection. Between midnight and 6 a.m. on October 28, 1940, 4 destroyers sweep the waters near Gibraltar. Shiré shuts off its engines and lets the current carry it, drifting silently to avoid sonar detection. Then, at 2:45 on the morning of October 29, 1940, the submarine begins its slow underwater transit through the Strait of Gibraltar, traveling at just over 6 kilometers per hour. By 1:21 on October 30, 1940, the boat reaches its launch point, just 350 meters from the Spanish coast. It bottoms out at a depth of 10 meters. Now, intelligence confirms what they've hoped for. 2 British battleships are anchored in Gibraltar's harbour. Borghese gives the order. Each SLC has a specific objective. SLC-1, piloted by Birindelli and Paganini, targets the outermost battleship. Meanwhile, SLC-2, with Tessé and Pedretti, is assigned to the innermost battleship. Their craft is modified for extended range. SLC-3, manned by Durand de la Penne and Bianchi, is sent to scout between the harbour buoys. If no cruisers or carriers are found, they are to strike the stern of the outer battleship to maximize damage. The reserve team, Bertozzi and Viglioli, helps prepare the launch. They open the watertight hatches, extract the torpedoes, and assist the operators into the water. Everything goes according to plan, until the teams begin testing their equipment. In the black waters off Gibraltar, the operators begin their approach. There's no moon, just the faintest glow from the Spanish coastline. The water is cold, the current steady. Each team now separates and begins their silent journey toward the harbour. Gino Birindelli and Mario Paganini, piloting SLC-1, are the first to run into trouble. Not long after launch, Paganini signals that his breathing unit is malfunctioning. The system isn't delivering oxygen. Birindelli reacts instantly. He tells him to switch to the backup unit, the one with a much shorter air supply. It'll have to do, but then something worse happens. Their torpedo shudders to a stop. Birindelli tries to restart the motor. Nothing. He checks the controls, the wiring, no response. The machine isn't moving. He realizes what's happened. Somewhere along the seabed, they've hit rocks. The shock has likely snapped the shaft between the engine and the propeller. There's no time to waste. He unstraps and starts dragging the SLC by hand. It weighs over a ton. He keeps his head low, every movement costing oxygen. It takes everything he has to move it even a few meters at a time. After half an hour of effort, exhaustion wins. Birindelli's lungs are burning. He checks the time. They're still about 70 meters from the target. Too far. He arms the warhead, sets the timer, and releases the torpedo. It sinks slowly. He signals to Paganini. They're aborting. The 2 men turn and swim toward the Spanish shore. They don't know if they've been spotted. They don't know if the device will detonate. All they can do is reach land. Tessé and Alcide Pedretti are also in trouble. From the start, their SLC shows signs of instability. The instrument panel is fogged. The compass is almost unreadable. And worse, Tessé's respirator is flooded. He pulls out the backup unit from the tail of the torpedo. It's old, worn down. The moment he puts it on, nausea hits. Pedretti isn't faring much better. Still, Tessé holds course. By 5 a.m., he identifies the northern pier of Gibraltar. They're close, but the closer they get, the worse the conditions become. His breathing gear is giving out. Pedretti signals that he can't continue either. Tessé makes the call. He detaches the warhead and sinks it into the dark. The mission is over. The 2 men swim north toward the Spanish town of La Linea. They drag themselves up the beach by 7:10. A narrow escape, but they're alive. Luigi Durand de la Penne is alone. At some point after launch, he loses contact with his teammate, Emilio Bianchi. He tries to hold position, scanning the water for the other operators. Nothing. He decides to press on alone. The torpedo is still behaving unpredictably. It barely stays afloat, unless he empties the buoyancy tanks completely. Even then, it drags low in the water. Minutes pass. Then, without warning, the SLC begins to sink. Durand de la Penne doesn't panic. He rides it down, 40 meters, 45, maybe more. The craft settles on the seabed. There's silence. He tries to detach the warhead, but suddenly, the water around him starts spinning. He's blacking out. Flashes of white cut across his vision. He lets go of the SLC and fights his way to the surface. When he breaks through, he gasps for air. Somehow, Bianchi is there. They cling to each other, both men half-conscious, drifting in the current. For 2 hours, they struggle to stay afloat. The sun rises behind them. Eventually, they wash ashore, exhausted, freezing, but alive. None of the torpedoes reach their targets, but none of the operators give up. Every man pushes to the edge, past it in some cases. This is not failure due to lack of courage. It's failure by technical breakdown, by environment, by the limits of their machines and their own bodies. They've proven that getting into Gibraltar is possible. Next comes getting out, alive. At 2:57 a.m., with all the reserve personnel accounted for, submarine Shirei begins its withdrawal. The submarine slips away beneath the surface, retracing its route through the Strait of Gibraltar. The destroyers that had patrolled the area a few nights earlier are still out there, but by now, the Royal Navy is unaware that an attack has just taken place, an attack that almost succeeded. By the time British divers begin their inspections, Shirei is already on its way back to Italy. One of the SLCs, likely the one abandoned by Birindelli, is recovered, heavily damaged. Another, the one detached and sunk by Tesei, is found nearly intact by Spanish authorities. Its self-destruction mechanism fails. Incredibly, the device is eventually returned to Italy in 1975 and preserved as a memorial. On November 3, 1940, Shirei returns to La Spezia. The mission has ended. On paper, Operazione Baia di Gibilterra 2 is a failure. None of the torpedoes strike their targets. No British warships are damaged. The primary objective isn't achieved. But within the Regia Marina, that's not how it's remembered. The bravery and endurance of the men involved are beyond question. Their ability to reach the harbor undetected, to navigate in near-total darkness, to operate in extreme cold with equipment that was failing from the moment they launched. It demonstrates a new kind of warfare. A warfare that values persistence over power, precision over scale, and the courage to go where no one else is willing to. The men of the operation are recognized. Junio Valerio Borghesi, commander of Shirei, receives the Medaglia d'Oro al Valore Militare for leadership. Gino Birindelli, who abandons his torpedo just 70 meters from his target, is also awarded the gold medal, even though he's captured. Tesei, Pedretti, Bianchi, and Durand de la Penne are all promoted. The reserve team, Giangastone Bertozzi and Giuseppe Viglioli, are awarded the Medaglia d'Argento for their crucial support during the operation. Their work helps shape future missions, including the one that succeeds. In 1941, Italian Frogmen return, this time to Alexandria. That time, they sink 2 British battleships. And it all begins here, at Gibraltar. Operazione Baia di Gibilterra doesn't achieve its tactical goal, but it proves that special operations beneath the sea are not only possible, they're effective. And as technology and tactics improve, the Italian Navy's Decima Flottiglia MAS becomes one of the most feared, unconventional units of the Second World War. These stories remind us that the fate of entire campaigns often rested on the shoulders of small elite units, those who led from the front, striking hard and holding fast, in the face of overwhelming odds. Thank you for listening to the Special Forces in World War II podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. Your support helps us continue to bring you more stories of courage, daring, and the unsung heroes of World War II. Be sure to tune in next time as we dive into yet another remarkable operation that helped shape the outcome of the war. Until then, keep your wits sharp, your courage steady, and remember, sometimes the most incredible victories come from the unlikeliest of places. See you in the next episode. I'm your host, Michael Wires, signing off. And that concludes this mission briefing, fellow warriors of knowledge. We've navigated through the trenches of information, delving deep into the battlefields of history. As we wrap up this episode in our campaign for understanding, remember that knowledge is your most potent weapon. Stay vigilant and keep sharpening your intellectual arsenal. We'll rendezvous again for another episode, continuing our relentless pursuit of enlightenment. Until then, keep your mind sharp, your curiosity burning, and your determination unwavering. Simultaneously, you are hereby alerted to our outposts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, fortifying our information dissemination. Should you possess any pertinent intelligence to bolster our mission, transmit your findings with no hesitation. Your contributions shall be prominently acknowledged within the operational archives. Furthermore, for those prepared to provide substantial reinforcement, navigate to our Patreon forward base and enlist. Your support is integral to sustaining our forward thrust. Carry forth the legacy. Dismissed.